You're watching The Alex Simmons Show, presented by Chick-Fil-A.
Tigers women's team is about halfway through the conference slate. We'll catch up with head coach Alex Simmons on everything that's happened so far, sit down with Hannah Riddick, and look ahead to a tough week ahead against USF and SMU again. It's The Alex Simmons Show. Let's go.
The game is on.
The Alex Simmons Show is presented by Chick-fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich. And by Simmons Bank, the official sponsor of women's athletics.
Halfway through the season, and all those new Lady Tiger pieces, they're starting to come together. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Woloshin.
And I'm Matt Enfield. We have a lot to catch you up on. Let's start out by sitting down with head coach Alex Simmons.
Inside FedEx Forum, for the first time in 9 years, the Memphis women came out shooting like pros against Florida Atlantic. Junior forward Lakin Cox, in her first start of the season, puts in the work. Cox buries the turnaround jumper. She scored Memphis' first 6 points. Also in the first, Alasia Smith stamps a rejection letter, then comes down to the other end and swishes a 3. She had 11 points and 12 boards, her 6th double-double. Madison Griggs pulled up to the party, too. She finished with 14. But the day belonged to Kai Carter. Came into the game with only 8 trays on the season. She hit 5 of 7 triples in this game. Another one. Memphis splits his FAU with a 28-8 first quarter. Carter would keep the Blaze going, helping the Tigers elevate to a 50-21 lead at the break. She had a game-high 19, and the Tigers demolished Florida Atlantic in their only meeting of the season, 76-56. Alex Simmons and the Tigers net their first win inside the Grindhouse in over a decade.
Coach, halfway through just about a very unusual year, meshing all these new pieces of the puzzle, having to change venues for a game in the middle of the year, playing one of the craziest games I've ever seen in my life with SMU. Give us a sense of what this has been like for you.
You know, I think crazy would be a great word to define what we've been through this month, but I think our team has adapted pretty well. We have some rough patches, but I think that's to be expected when you put together three different groups of people, from, you know, a group that's played for me before, a group that hasn't played for me before, and then a group of freshmen who are just trying to figure things out.
When you start out conference play, you have a couple of close losses in a row. What's the message to the team during that time period of like, all right, let's stay locked in, focused, and there are better times ahead?
You know, I think the details of our system are important, and I think when you get multiple 1- and 2-point losses, there's multiple things that you can look at, whether it be free throws, whether it be defensive rebounding, finishing layups. There's just a lot of aspects that you can think of, but I think the main thing is making sure that they stay committed to the system, trust the system, and know that, you know, as we move forward, our results will start changing.
You talk about those heartbreaking losses, so close, 3 straight games like that. Do you talk a little bit about how close you are? Because obviously there's a psychological thing that comes to being that close to the W.
Yeah, you know, in our UAB game, there was a time where the officials were looking at a review, and that was one of the messages to the team in that huddle, that we're so close. Again, a couple adjustments here and there from players, you know, making sure we have the right combinations in the game, and more than likely we win those games. But I think a lot of the mistakes that we were making in those 1- and 2-point losses were things that we could control.
I'm going to let him hit on the SMU game since he actually called that game. But to finally get over the hump and get that first conference win against Temple, how significant was that?
It was huge for our confidence and huge for our carryover even, that we could, number one, go on the road and win a game down the stretch. I think we were up even 9 with maybe 2 minutes left and found a way to finish that game. We had some, again, undisciplined plays, but we were able to overcome.
All right, let's talk about the craziness of SMU. 75 fouls, 98 free throws. We had 10 people that fouled out of the game, 5 on 4 at the end. I've never seen that before. I've done 1,000 games.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen anything like that?
I've seen that, but at the high school level, with the amount of fouls that were called and finishing game 5 on 4. And I honestly think it was a shock to some of our players on the court. We had a scheme of doubling the ball. We knew we were going to get a turnover, but when you're doubling the ball, but it's against 4 people, it's kind of odd, So even coming out of a huddle, we had a game plan, but when you're looking, trying to find your man, you can't find him because there's only 4 people on the court. So again, another, we can say we've been there, and, we can say what we would do differently in that situation.
So your team had an experience that no women's team here has had in nearly a decade, playing at FedEx Forum. First, the lead up to that week when you figure out that you're not going to be able to play at El Marron. What was that like, trying to navigate that craziness?
It wasn't even a week. It was maybe 2 days that we found out. But our administration, Lauren Ashman in particular, she hit the ground running, making sure we had table crews and facilities, and just making sure that we had everything we needed. It's the first time for me that for a home game, we stayed in the hotel. But I think, you're a lot closer to your team in those moments. Usually everybody's in their own homes and doing their own thing. But, we became closer. We spent more time together the night before a game. And, I think the atmosphere was really good.
That being said, obviously you guys really like playing in that arena because you shot the lights out. You pick up a 20-point win in an NBA arena. How do you sum up that whole day?
I think the perception of the arena, I thought we were going to be a little off, but I think because it was so new and, we put it as, this is our prep for the tournament, because you're going to play in almost kind of a neutral site, a bigger arena. And, it was exciting for our team to, at the end of the day, be able to do what the men are doing right now.
I wonder, I think Madison Griggs said maybe the rims were a little different. I think
Yeah.
you guys shoot better there than the men do.
I don't know about that. We'll have to play more games to figure that out. But yeah, when you go on rims that are constantly being dunked on and I wish we could dunk, but unfortunately we don't have the athleticism yet. But yeah, I think, just that we were very comfortable. Do I know the reason to that? No, I know we had really good prep days though.
Looking ahead to the rest of conference, what are the things you're focusing on to really maximize the rest of the schedule?
Trust in the system. I think in our last couple of games, even in the losses, we've seen that when we trust the system, things work out for us. We did a great job in our FAU game of reading the scouting report and carrying that scouting report over to the game. So just continue to do what we're doing in practice and talking to the team and constantly trying to get a bond.
You also have relied so heavily on 2 players, Smith and Griggs. That I'm assuming is going to continue.
Absolutely, and I think people are seeing their production, so they're also wanting to produce. And I think what they're doing right now, is that's what they're here to do. That's why Malaysia Smith came here. That's why we brought her here, because we knew what she could do on both ends of the court. Maddie Griggs, who she's thrived in 3 different systems at the end of the day. So, her putting in the work every single day, focusing on her and wanting what's best for the team all the time.
How would you assess just the overall growth and progress so far through conference play?
I think we've grown a lot. If anything, we've seen what we can do when we're all on one page, and I think that's the most important thing right now.
As you look at this league in total, obviously USF is a good team. There have been some surprises. What's the style that you really think about when you think about the American?
A lot of versatile basketball, kind of positionless, four guards, 1 post type of basketball. It's a great matchup for us because we somewhat play the same way a lot of the time. But I don't think it's coincidence that, all but one of the newer teams are at the top of the league. So I think, once we get through this year, everybody kind of knows what to expect. I think there's going to be even more parity.
From north of the border to the 901, Hannah Riddick has established herself as a mainstay with the Tigers. We'll sit down with her. Coming up next.
You're watching The Alex Simmons Show, presented by Chick-Fil-A.
Welcome back to The Alex Simmons Show. Unlike the women's soccer program here in Memphis, there aren't many Canadian players that come through the women's basketball program. Hannah Riddick is the exception. She's had to deal with a lot of turnover in her time in the 901. Through it all, she's persevered. All right, Hannah, I understand you've got some pretty athletic genes in your family. First,
Yes.
Walk me through your dad's athletic accomplishments and accolades.
Okay, so he went to school at NC State. He played football. He also did track. He was like the national long jump champion. And then he went over to Canada, played in the CFL. That's how he met my mom, actually. So yeah, and then my mom, she dabbled in a little bit of, she played basketball in high school. So.
What was your introduction to basketball? Some of the earliest memories you have playing the sport?
It's actually kind of funny. So I used to play soccer, but you know, Canada's really, really cold.
Yep.
So I was like, I'm really not down for this, like, cause they was playing in the snow and the rain. I was like, I don't know if I'm made up for this. So then I started playing basketball, and I was like, I like this. It's indoors, the climate is controlled, and I was pretty good at it. So I was like, yeah.
You got to ask, just being from Canada, was hockey ever in the picture at all? Or
No,
not? No,
I was a terrible skater. So.
Okay, fair. But it wasn't just basketball for you, right?
I played track, so I did long jump, high jump, 100 meter relay. I also played volleyball, and believe it or not, I even played badminton.
When did you really lock on to hoops as the one serious thing?
I think it's when I decided to go over to Ottawa and attend that prep school, and then at that point, that's when I was really like, okay, this is where I'm gonna go with basketball.
And you played for the Canadian national team
Yes.
in FIBA competition, right? Walk us through that experience, what that was like.
It was really good. To be able to represent your country is just, it's a different kind of experience, and like you just won't know what it's like unless you've experienced it. And it was an honor and a privilege, and I've gotten to go to some tryouts and even the camp I went to a few years ago, so since then.
How does someone who grew up in Calgary, went to prep school in Ottawa, end up in Memphis, Tennessee?
Okay, so my story was a bit different. So COVID messed up a lot of things for me. So my recruitment was kind of downhill. Like I was supposed to have a senior season. That didn't happen. So actually Memphis was the only school I had, and it just happened to work out. They couldn't come see me. Like I never went on a visit. I couldn't see like their campus, them. They were having a bit of a rough season too, but they saw my film and they took a chance on me, and I took a chance on them, and I think it's paid off for both of us.
So what's it like when you come in under a coach that didn't even initially recruit you?
It can be challenging. I definitely think it's a process of gaining trust, a process of proving yourself over and over again. And it can be difficult and it can be discouraging at times, but I think it's paid off in the end.
Walk me through that process of gaining that trust with Alex and what you had to prove to her. What did that look like?
She brought with her a 4 too, so I had to be able to prove to her like I can not only play a 4, but I can play a 5. And we have a lot of defensive people, a lot of rebounding people. So I was like, what can I do that's different? And that became scoring for me. You know, like she could put me in the game and I'll get some buckets. And so that was my thing that I could bring to this team. And so I've really like held on to that, made sure I bring that each and every game.
You said a big reason why you stayed was you love the city. Describe your relationship with Memphis and why you feel like you're so drawn to it.
Memphis is a basketball city. You can see it with the Grizzlies, you can see it with the men's team, and even the women's team, which isn't like the case for a lot of teams, but we get a lot of support and people show up for us consistently. And at the end of the day, I like the culture, I like the food, I just like the atmosphere, and I love Memphis.
Is there something about the vibe of the city that you feel like resonates with you?
I feel like the city almost has like an underdog kind of vibe. Like people kind of overlook it or they kind of label it in a bad way, but you know, it's the grind and it's like we keep proving ourselves to people. And I kind of feel like that's where I come from. I've always kind of felt like I was the underdog. So I guess I resonate with the city in a way.
What are you here to study and what do you eventually want to do down the road professionally? I'm
majoring in health studies and I have a minor in pre-health. And I hope to go to med school and I want to become a surgeon. I feel like surgery is something where you have to collaborate with people towards a common goal. And I feel like the pressure I face from basketball is good training for like when I literally have someone's life on the line when I'm a surgeon. So yeah, I definitely think it's preparing me.
You ever think just kind of the whole journey, you know, coming from Calgary and like I said, playing prep school in Ottawa and end up in Memphis, Tennessee. You ever kind of wrap your head around about how kind of wild that is?
I think about it a lot. Like every time I get discouraged, I kind of look back and realize like how far I came. Like I'm just a girl from Calgary. Most times, like I say I'm from Calgary, people don't even know what that is. So for me to been able to go from there to go to prep school when I was 15 by myself across the country, and then now be in Memphis and found success, it's a big deal. And so I try to remind myself of that.
Coach, it sure seems like you got a special player in Hannah Riddick. Her dad was a terrific athlete. She has blossomed this year and so smart. She wants to be an orthopedic surgeon.
Yeah, she's definitely one of our smart ones. I wanted to be that too at one point, then I had to do all the schoolwork. But Hannah's really sold out to what we wanted from her, what we needed from her. She puts in work like no other player. She wants to help the team. She wants to be productive. It's interesting when you look at her minutes from this year to last year, her minutes have gone down, but her efficiency and her production has gone up. So, I think because she was committed to what we were saying, she was committed to our goals and her goals, and I think that's why she's seeing success right now.
When you came in here and you assessed the roster that was left behind, why was she someone that you wanted to bring back on this year's team?
We didn't have really a versatile 4 player. Somebody who could play the 4 and the 5. We didn't have anybody who could score the ball on the block, and I thought Hannah was, somebody who could do that. She has the skill set, she has the touch around the rim, and she's willing to do just that, score around the block. She knows what she's good at, she knows what she's not so great at.
I heard after the season had begun, she came to you. She wanted to have a meeting with you. What was that all about?
I think she wanted to find her place on the team. She wanted to find her role, and she wanted to do what was best for the team. What's best for the team is her to produce, to be a spark, whether that be starting, whether that be coming off the bench. When I came here, that's the first thing I told our players. Not everybody's going to be able to start, and some starters may start sometime, and some people may come off the bench when they just came off starting a game. So, I think that she understood that, which is why she wanted to have that meeting.
Is that a difficult thing to convey sometimes? Like, you might play less, but your efficiency is going to be higher. So in the end, it's the best thing for the team, or is that an easy conversation?
It's easy to have the conversation. It's harder to understand it. And I think, when you look at our games and minutes, production, there's all types of things I look at on the stat sheet. I think you can see that, it's taken a little bit for some players to understand that.
Home against the all-time standard of the conference and a rematch that's sure to be highly contested. We'll preview USF and SMU after the break.
You're watching The Alex Simmons Show, presented by Chick-Fil-A. Let's take a look at the AutoZone road ahead.
Coach, you got a busy schedule coming up. Cream of the crop, USF, that's at home. And then that crazy rematch with SMU. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be there for that one.
I know, and going on the road and being able to play home against South Florida is going to be huge for us. SMU going on the road, they're obviously going to be a tough team. I think what a lot of people don't know is they were out. One of their better players were out for our game at home, and so I'm sure she'll be back by then, and it'll be a little bit of a different matchup for us.
USF has been at the top of this conference for God knows how long. What kind of measuring stick game is that going to be for you guys?
It'll be huge for us, more so because everybody has lost. So going into a game where you're bringing in, I believe, the second preseason ranked team in here, it'll be a big game for us. As
you look at this league, is it better or about what you expected?
I really didn't expect anything because there were so many Conference USA teams coming in. So I honestly didn't know what to expect.
That was tonight's AutoZone Road Ahead. AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination and official sponsor of Tiger Athletics. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
South Florida's usually the measuring stick for this league, so I'm really looking forward to that game. We'll put a wrap on this one in just a minute.
You're watching The Alex Simmons Show, presented by Chick-Fil-A.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next month when we preview the American Athletic Conference Tournament.
The Alex Simmons Show is presented by Chick-fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich. And by Simmons Bank, the official sponsor of women's athletics. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation of the University of Memphis Sports Network. This copyrighted telecast is an exclusive presentation of Learfield under the broadcasting rights granted by the University of Memphis. Reuse of this presentation is prohibited without the expressed written consent of the University of Memphis and Learfield.